How's it going, everyone? Fritz here from Fritz on a Budget, and today's version of Tone on a Budget consists of something that took me, well, about 7 takes before, so I think we're on number 8. I bring to you a 100-watt version of the Joyo Bantamp. Yep. How did I do that? Basically, all I'm doing is sending the Joyo preamp into the power section of the Marshall, using the effects loop to connect them both, and what's going on is I'm getting a really, really good punchy sound, much better than the 20-watt Class D that's on board on the Joyo. It's very slow, very spongy, and this is very, very transient, has a lot of bass. The only thing right now I'm worried about is the absolute low end being too big. So what I'm using here is a Joyo Bantamp FIREBRAND head, and I'm using the preamp that's going into the power section of the Marshall MG100 HDFX. 100-watt amp. This DDS or damping kind of feature they have that makes it sound like a real tube amp, it does. It really does. I use this for not only the Marshall preamp, which kind of desperately needs it, brings it into the tube realm, but it also brings a little more life and character to the sound when you're using an external preamp into the power section of the Marshall. Now, the only tonal control I have between the Joyo and the Marshall, because I'm using the effects loop and I don't have an EQ in there right now, I'm just using my little creation here. This is the attenuator, and I actually have an attenuator hooked up in the effects loop, which isn't just a volume control, but it also has a tone circuit. So there's videos on that. Look at my channel. So basically what I'm doing is I'm cutting out any extra high-end, aka presence from the Joyo, and there's so much high-end left over when you cut it that you're going to think I'm not even using it at all, but the bass comes out, all these other frequencies come out. I'll leave a link on how you can get these. Some of the high mids seem to dip off as well, so I'm going to go right ahead and play this a little bit. Here's what happens when you get the Joyo Bantamp through a 100-watt power section going into vintage 30 speakers. Has a very plexy sound, which I'm all about that. I also use a boost pedal for this setup, not just for a little gain and sustain, but I also use it for a tonal cut on the guitar as well. So what it does is, it kind of has a plexi bright cap kind of twang to it, which I absolutely adore. It's got a lot of twang and bang, but I do miss my JCM preamp every once in a while, so I have a little system I use. I have something called the Super Rat pedal, and that's a Rat clone that does not only a Rat pedal, it does the Turbo Rat, and it also has a boost. And the boost works with the same controls as a Rat. Volume, tone, and gain, basically. So what I do is I cut the tone down a certain amount before it gets to be kind of dead, and I'll keep the gain flat. The actual distortion or gain, I'll keep it flat. So it's about the same output as the flat signal without the pedal on. And I'll keep the volume on 10. So what I'm doing is, it's filling in the gaps when I use it on boost. There's going to be some lows, some highs, and some mids that are all kind of coming in together, and it's just giving it a little bit more sustain without it actually getting more of a gain boost. But what it does is, because I have that tone cut, it's cutting out that extra bright cap feature that I adore on this thing to get it to sound more like a JCM 800 or like a JMP. All right, let's try this. We're going to hit the pedal. All right, so that's with no pedal on. Okay, now we're going to turn the pedal on. I don't know if you heard the little background noise, but the gain didn't really boost up too much. Just a little bit more low mids and lows and highs came in. Keeping it the same level, it kind of thickened everything else out and hammered out a lot of the highs. So now we have this. Same thing, it just has a little bit more sustain, and it doesn't have that overwhelming treble. All right, we're going to turn this off so I can show you. comparison. And with it on, here's the pedal off with the plexi kind of twang. And then with the pedal on, alright, turn the pedal off. Pedal on. You get some more lows and mids in there and a little bit more sustain because of it. And it's still very dynamic. And here's with the pedal off. I use a very low gain setting. We're talking straight in. But anyway, there's a number of things you can do with this setup. I mean, there's built-in reverb to the power section of this, so let's throw a little reverb in there. All right, so I'm gonna use a little reverb just because it's on board. Pretty good sound. I like the reverb, it's good, but I also like this. There's built-in chorus, there's built-in flange, I think. There's a bunch of different shit in here. I have a built-in delay, too. Let's see. Anyway, it's got your normal suspect of chorus, flange, delay, whatever it's got on there. It's got a bunch of onboard effects. I use a little bit of a 130 millisecond slapback kind of delay that the amp has on board for my needs. But otherwise, this thing is quite a little monster. And if you throw an EQ in the loop after the attenuator, you get some pretty decent tones. You can pretty much shape it into anything you want, because once you've got the presence control hammered out and you get your preamp together, it's a monster. You can pretty much drop the mids, do a Metallica thing. You can kind of spike the mids, drop some of the highs, get some of the old Fender on 10 kind of sound. I wanted to use the Joyo Live, but the problem is 20 watts just doesn't cut it sometimes. It will keep up with the band under the right circumstances, but some of my cabinets are 16 ohms, and some of my cabinets are 8 ohms, just not very loud speakers. So that kind of puts me in a category where I really need to be heard. So what I want to do is boost the volume. Anyway, I wanted to do a quick video and introduce you to this, the 100-watt Joyo Bantamp FIREBRAND. And I'm just going to noodle around a little bit. There's just a little bonus video I wanted to throw up and let you know what my personal rig is. This is my actual rig rundown. This is my new live rig, what I'll be using. The Joyo Bantamp FIREBRAND head into the MG100 HDFX from Marshall, their solid state solution in this case, right through the effects loop. What you do is you take your effects send, and that's going to go to the input of the attenuator, and that's going to go to the return of the Marshall MG. The send from the MG is going to go to the return of the Joyo. I think I have that right. So that's how I do it. I use the effects loop to run it through. And what I'm getting is a lot more than I expected. This is a tube preamp. Yes, it only uses 112AX7. I never gave this head the credit it really truly deserves, even though I've done video after video praising it and how much I love it. On recording, you can make it sound like whatever you want. But to my ears, what I'm hearing is something absolutely punchy. It sounds somewhere between like the old 100-watt plexi heads, or kind of sounds like the 2203 JMP. Very similar to the preamp I have in my 2204. All right, I'm going to noodle around on this thing and see what we get. For this test, I'm using a Les Paul clone. It's the IYV. You can find these on Amazon. Although I think they discontinued this particular model. Don't quote me on that. But they went a little sparse, and I got one dirt cheap. I did a video on it. Should have a video up very soon about building my dream guitar for 150 bucks, and that's exactly what I did. Oh yeah, I'll put this up against any Gibson anytime, literally. Okay, what we have here is a Les Paul clone. It's an IYV, and this clone has a PAF clone in it. This is a Guitar Madness PAF. This is a very inexpensive setup. This is a $150 guitar right here with the pickup. I'll go over that in my next video. Building your dream guitar for 150 bucks, because that's literally what it did. Anyway, I'm going to play on this dream guitar of mine and see what kind of tones we can get out of it. So that's how I got a 100-watt Joyo Bantamp FIREBRAND rig. And through Vintage Dirty sounds pretty nice, especially when you can control the presence. The Attenuator. Get yourself one. I'll put a link on my descriptions. I can't even use this head without this. I was about to give up on the Joyo until I realized it can cut down the presence through the use of EQs and certain cabinets, and I loved it, but I was only going to use it for recording. It was too hot. Then I created that, and I'm very happy. So if there's anything that you have that's too bright, I don't even want to say for sure, but I think you might even be able to use that on an actual Plexi reissue, 1987X. So anyway, that's my favorite rig, and that's what I'll be using from now on. And anything besides this would be a rig of convenience or backline that's already provided, but this travels real well. It's tiny, it's light, and just bring the attenuator with you wherever you go, and you can plug it to any cabinet and get a decent sound. So I am going to do some more videos on this rig, this guitar, and anything else I could do to save some money for me and save some money for you. Let's go over the price. $165 head, brand new. These, well, they're no longer in production, but they're ample. What? No pun intended. They're still available. You can get them for around the $200 mark. I've seen them for a lot less lately. But let's just say that for about $350, $360, you can get yourself one hell of a 100-watt rig to put through whatever cabinet you like. Yeah, so fun stuff. I'm going to play on this for a while, do a little more recording with it, and I'll get back to you on my future results, but so far I'm absolutely in love with it. I just wanted to bring you this quick video to show you what I've been up to and do a little quick rig rundown. And this is one of my rigs. This is my main rig. This is the one that I use for Fritz and the Side Effects, and just about anything else that I'm using, like a vintage Marshall kind of sound or vintage Fender kind of sound. It does it all. I am in tube heaven right now, and I hope you can be too for a very limited amount of money. Don't forget to like, subscribe, tell a friend. Let's get this channel out there so I can save some more people some more money. I'm Fritz O'Hara. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time at Tone on a Budget.